So when you first launch Flash, you're going to see the very first intro screen. There's a number of templates you can utilize. So if you're creating advertisements, there you can click on advertising, and then you can select different sizes, the canvas that you may like. In addition, here for Android, so if you want to create an animation or a mobile app that you want to deploy on a mobile device like the Android, you can select here for Android. That's also available under Create New, so here for Android, here for iOS. So you can create mobile apps for the iPhone, the iPad, or any Google or Android device. But what we're going to generally be doing is so once again, what we're going to be doing is going to be ActionScript 3.0 and 2.0. But before we do that, there are a number of videos that you may want to also refer to. So introducing Flash, symbols, timeline, animation as we move forward. Do take advantage of these. So we can, I'll start with ActionScript 3.0. Now what is the difference between 3.0 and 2.0? 3.0 is object oriented, so it's much different to 2.0. With 2.0 the code is attached to each object. 3.0 it's not the case, so you have to actually make references to the objects that you name. And we won't be doing this until much later into the course. So when we click on ActionScript 3.0, it will first appear, as you see it here, this is the stage, this is where everything will happen. By default it's going to be set as essential. At the top you can switch that from essential to animator to classic. So I tend to use classic because I've used older versions and it tends to fit that, and I'm used to that. But you could use any other type of layout that you feel you're comfortable with. So what we see here, we see the different tools available on the left side, and we'll do them as we move forward. At the top we see the timeline. So here everything happens frame by frame. These are frames. So just like any animation, you're going to create a frame and it's going to keep jumping to subsequent frames. By default, the number of frames set are 24 frames per second. So you could see a TV would be around roughly between 20 to 30 frames depending on where you are located. If you're in Europe, it's going to be much higher. The US, the number of frames per second are much lower. If you're a gamer, then your number of frames are going to be much higher. They're going to be 30 plus frames per second because there's a lot happening, and the time it takes for that screen to render, there's going to be fewer sort of flickers. In addition to that, if you're a gamer, you would generally need a high-end graphic card that takes care of the number of frames that are passing by per second. So you could change these frames per second to 7 frames and you can max it out. Obviously the more frames you have, the more content you would need within those frames. So by default I'm just going to stick with 24 frames per second. Okay, below that there is a size. The default size is 550 pixels width and 400 height. So these are pixels. And once again you can increase that if you want to, or you can reduce that. So let's switch that back to 400. So you just need to click on it and you can change that to 400. The stage by default is set to white, and of course you can change the colors by picking the color that you prefer. So that's under properties. So under properties you can change the frames per second, the size, and the stage color. Okay, now we're going to save this. Go to File, Save As, and there's lots of other options I'll go through. So I want to save as, and I'm going to save this to the desktop. I'm going to save it as, I'll just call it Stage. And you could see the extension is FLA, referring to Flash. It's a Flash file. So this is the file that you will be using to make any changes or any edits. We can save that. Now that's been saved, and I'm just going to shift aside, and there is our file, stage.fla. Okay, we can publish that. Now if we want to publish it and put it on the web, there's a number of ways of doing it, but the best way I do it is by pressing Control and Enter. Control and the Enter key. Control and Enter key, and that creates another file. In this case, it's going to call this the SWIF file. So it's stage.swif. Now if we move aside, we can see stage.swif. This is the file that you can deploy on the web. So we can open this, and we don't need the Flash development tool to open that file. We just need a Flash player or an AIR runtime, which generally most machines or PCs will have. So when you open it, this is what you will see. So in order to edit that file, we always need to open the FLA file. There are a number of other options available. There's lots of other options, and we will be going through these one by one. If you have any questions on this, do respond by online in the discussion forum, or you can always email me.